Okay, good morning. This is a live, as I'm sure it will be displayed as such. Haven't done the YouTubes in a hot minute. I can't remember. I don't even look at the videos that I've posted. So I think that Jaeger, my boyfriend, and I came on and did a video since last year, but yeah, a little update as to why I've been MIA so long. I was in a car accident last September and rolled my car off the highway at night, and we were both, me and my boyfriend, it was just me and my boyfriend in the car, and we didn't hit anybody, it just hit the ground. But we were both really badly injured, and just sort of lots has happened, but making YouTube videos wasn't on the top of my list. But oh my God, there's been so much that I've wanted to come on and just rant about, personal stuff. And well, I guess it's all personal stuff, but I mean, like, normal life stuff and out more, fringe out there topics. Anyways, man, there's so many things I want to cover, and I'm not sure if I should just try to like touch on a bunch of things or go deep into anything. Maybe I'll just see where it goes. I'm also going to try to not read the chat so much because I'm going to try to keep a bit of a flow to whatever I'm talking about. So it's going to be generally on the topic of, well, I feel like that if I say the one topic, it kind of encompasses all these things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about dreams, out of body experiences, we'll say, and the general ET, UAP, UFO topic, because that's very broad anyways, but those things are very much connected in my opinion. Okay, where do I start? I've been, since having this downtime, I haven't been at work, and I've probably been thinking about this stuff more because just not having that, grounding day-to-day physical work, kind of taking you out of your head. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this stuff lately, and hard not to. I mean, if you do follow this, the UAP, UFO disclosure topic, there's been a lot coming out this year from whistleblowers and, either, ex-legacy program people or, people that have just found their way into the psionic world, whistleblowing, talking about their experiences, whatever. Normal people talking about their experiences. It's just, I think that the times are changing, and these topics are becoming easier for people to talk about with less ridicule. So yeah, I think I've touched on it before, but I'm going to talk about it more here. There's like, I don't know if I should give a trigger warning. Maybe I should, because we're going to talk about some uncomfortable things or topics, I guess, kind of regarding sexual assault, I guess. hard to really classify. So yeah, I guess one of the things that was making me think about coming on and talking about on YouTube myself was listening to different UFO podcasters, either interviewing people recently or posting or playing clips from the past of, different people's experiences, abduction experiences. I'm still waking up. I just woke up and decided to do this. I don't know why I didn't take more time to actually like collect a thought, but maybe I needed to do it this way. So a lot of the things that come up in abduction stories and stuff are people talking about feeling like there's some kind of we'll tie it up in sexual assault type experience, whether there was some kind of medical like experimentation going on them, or otherwise. And there's all kinds of like, ways people try to explain away these stories, but we're just going to look at, we'll just take into consideration the fact that there are people that have, looked into this aspect of themselves, checked it out, and it's like there's no real world explanation for why they have these memories or these thoughts. It's like you don't want to have these thoughts or memories if you've had these experiences. It's like it's confusing, it's terrifying, it's all of the above, right? As anyone could imagine. Anyway, so I guess let's sort of want to, listening to these stories and from men and women. And since I saw something in the sky, UFO, whether it was government technology or human reverse engineered shit or not, I still tend to believe that it wasn't. But ever since I saw that in 2017, it's made me think more. It's just kind of been a slow opening of this Pandora's box of what the fuck has actually gone on in my life. 'Cause as a kid, I had a lot of, nightmares, night terrors that I would wake up screaming from or confused from. And a lot of, I know that I've repressed a lot of the details of those dreams, but there's a couple that I remember in quite a bit of detail that, like I have said, I've been a lucid dreamer since I was really young. Since I can remember, I think that my earliest memory is actually of a vivid lucid dream, not a real memory. And I think that I was really, really young when I had it, like maybe 2 years old. Anyways, although I have described like one of the apartments that I lived in as a child to my mom, and she's like, how do you remember that? Like you were a toddler. So I have a good memory, I guess. I don't know what that means or why I mentioned that, but some of these dreams I've had felt more like, they feel more like memories, like coming from that age, how your memories get fuzzier, you go back, but some of these dreams I've had, they're like almost more clear than memories. And I'll just give an example of the most vivid one that I remember. It was probably, I feel like I was around 6 or 7 the time I had this dream, and I don't even remember if I like described this dream at the time, I don't even know if I remembered this dream until I saw the UFO. There was a lot that just kind of like unlocked after I saw the UFO, and I feel like some of these dreams came back to the surface. And I say dreams because I feel like they were dreams. But I listened to a lot of these abduction stories and I wonder, maybe they weren't dreams. And this sounds so cliched, like almost, that I think that's why I dismissed it throughout my life, because as I got older and heard stories of, abductions, and the way that they were presented, in the past is like, these are kooky stories, kooky ghost stories, right? And it's like, these people are crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. They just probably had some whack dream. Anyways, dancing around it. But the dream that I had, one of them, was I seem to be, I'll just describe it and then describe what it seemed like. I'm in a room. There's a weird lighting that I can't really pinpoint where the light is coming from. It seems to be coming from like the above in a center area, but it's almost like maybe from the middle. I don't know. There's sort of, I'm looking at a room and there's this recessed, lower area in the middle. And in this lower area, it's circular, and there's what looks like, like metal tables that are kind of angled all up like this around each other in a circle. And there's children of different ages on these tables strapped in, and there's beings. I can't really see them in the center, but I can tell that there are beings that are controlling the situation there. And the next thing I know, I find myself, I'm also on one of these tables, and we're being like probed or experimented on. I get the feeling that we're having genetic information taken from us. I don't know how or why or what kind, but it seems like there's definitely a rapey feeling going on. At some point, I'm like really freaking out, because I feel like, am I in a dream? I'm having this thought because as a kid I had so much intense dreams. I learned how to like wake myself up out of these bad dreams really early in my life, and I'm not able to wake up. I'm not able to wake myself up out of this situation, and I start panicking, and I find myself freed. I'm kind of running around this. I get out of this brightly lit center area, and I'm around behind it, and the lighting is very dim, and it's all there's not much going on. Like, it's very clean lines. Like, I don't see like furniture or anything else, but I see this sort of room or hallway to my left, and down there are cages with children in them, up like one stacked by twos, like one on top, and there's like a row, like a kennel, like you see at a pet store or whatever, like the animals like stacked up like that, and bleh. Anyways, so, and I'm like I'm still trying to wake myself up out of this nightmare. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and then, so there's some weird elements of this dream that were very dream-like and also very real feeling. And all this that I just described felt very real. And then I see a window on the wall in this area that like sort of like a porthole, like a circular, small circular window. And I just see space outside. I just see space outside the window, I remember. And then I look to the right, and on this short wall, I see this mirror. It looks like a mirror. I'm reading it mentally as a mirror. And it feels like that's a telephone. I feel like I go up to it feeling like this is a way to call for help. And I'm looking into this mirror, which is about, like, I don't know, just a bit bigger than the size of my head. And I'm trying to call for help. And then the next thing I know, I woke up. So that dream, I, just took for a bad, weird dream for a long time. And, obviously it has elements of an abduction, but I just, again, it's like I assumed that maybe I had heard something that I turned into a dream experience in my subconscious, but I'm pretty certain that at the time that I had that dream, and there was a lot of things that I dreamt about before I had any kind of real frame of reference consciously for it, which is what makes me question those ones in particular. I'm always skeptical when it comes to, like, just believing that anything, like, whether it's a coincidence or a synchronicity, even though I know these things to be very real and very true, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of my own experiences. And I think that's the way we all kind of need to be a little bit. Like, don't not believe what's in front of you, what feels right for you, but don't close your mind off to exploring the potential for other things to also be true. Like, maybe you experience a psychic phenomenon or like a synchronicity, and there's some other explanation for it. Both can be true at the same time as well. Like, there can be like this divine alignment thing going on that's bigger than us, and it might also just seem like you're in the right place at the right time, or whatever it might be. I'm very much generalizing, but I think you get the point. It's like, be open-minded to all potentials. There's always multiple things going on in every situation, anyways, multiple angles to look at things at. All right, anyway. So, yeah, potentially abduction, real, potentially happened to me. The reason why I think that maybe some of these experiences I had in my dreams might be more than that. Like, what is our consciousness? Is there something going on? Like, I think that there's layers to our experience. I think we have a physical body, and I think that, like, who we really are is something not physical, kind of animating this meat suit in a way. And I think that that's closer to what we truly are. But I think there's still layers in between the source. What I think that we all, like, essentially, like, before incarnating or manifesting into the physical universe at all, we all are all part of the same source of energy. But I think there's layers to it, because clearly there's other beings out in this universe that are, steps above humanity in their spiritual advancement. Maybe not even, maybe we take for granted so much that we are so beneath these other beings because we've been told that. Maybe that's fucking propaganda. I don't know. I'll tell you why I think that's propaganda, though. And that's because of what happened to me in January last year with my partner. And I think I've talked about this. I'm going to say it again. Scares the shit out of me to actually say this publicly because I think it's really extremely real and something very much hidden from humanity. I don't know what it is. But I think I had a contact experience last January, and I think that it was not something, I have not come across anything, whether contemporary or from history, that remotely resembles what happened to us and myself as well. So I know I talked about it before, but my boyfriend and I had a telepathic experience, which I've had genuine telepathy before, and it is very paradigm shifting. It will rock your boat if you, especially if you're not ready for it or haven't, played with the idea in your head that telepathy might be real, and it's something that you want to seek out. And if it happens to you accidentally, it can really freak you out. Sometimes it can really, some people aren't ready for it. And I've literally seen it. I've seen telepathy personally, like temporarily break the mind of a good friend of mine in a way, who she could not admit that it had happened, even though like she was just basically describing the experience, but couldn't admit that it happened. It just like, she couldn't integrate the reality that it really happened. So it's it's real. So that was the beginning of the experience that my boyfriend and I had. It was telepathy. And then something happened. Something happened that is really weird to describe, because I really don't have any frame of reference for how to describe what happened. We came up close to each other and without touching each other at all. We came within like, I don't know, probably a couple millimeters of distance within each other, skin like this. And it was like when you try to push two of the same ends of a magnet together and they won't touch. It was almost like there was that kind of a barrier in between our bodies. And we started moving close to each other, like as if we were moving our hands over each other's, arms like this, but not touching. And it was like, we weren't thinking about it. Like, it seemed impossible that we could be, and we started moving so fast. And I mean, also there was the weird thing about how we were moving was that it was in perfect mirror of each other, as if we were moving each other's body. So in this moment, our minds were having telepathy, but it wasn't just like a back and forth telepathy where I felt my mind, I felt his mind, and we were sharing. No, it was one mind. It was one mind. I couldn't tell if I was moving, if I was controlling my body or his body or both, and vice versa. We were in each other's mind and body, and we're moving so fast. And there was a thought that came through for both of us, and it was like, this is basically like, it was saying like, if you want to have a contact experience, there's two options. You can go outside and see something right now, or have this experience. And we're like, okay, what's this experience? And I think something unlocked, maybe in our human brain. Maybe this is something that humans are capable of. The only thing, and I'll keep describing the experience, but the only thing that I can even somewhat maybe come close to relating it might be to is how the ancients may have experienced a true Kundalini awakening. Something about our his and I energy like opened up. We felt it, and it felt like it was like him and I individually became the snakes that weave up the caduceus, and we reached a point of gnosis within ourselves and the universe. And I know this sounds so friggin' whack, but I mean it's like, I don't claim to be like, I have all of this knowledge and I you can hit, I think, a point of enlightenment and have this like breakthrough. Doesn't mean that necessarily you can integrate all of that information from a single experience. I think that's where people get confused as to what people are saying when they say like, I reached enlightenment. It's like, not everybody can bring all of that back in one go. And most people don't. And that's why meditation and actually working your way up to these experiences matters, because you can have an experience like in a flash and a bang, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have taken all of that in. It's like you open the door to the room and you see what's going on inside, and then you kind of have that snapshot memory of what you saw, and then you close the door right behind you, and that's all you get, like until you really cross through that door. Anyway, so yeah, dreams, aliens, abductions, contact experiences, the contact experience. So yeah, my boyfriend and I are moving around each other like super lightning speed, but not touching each other. And then we're in the bedroom and we're sitting on the bed, and I stop, and something comes through me. Something comes through me, and it was like my jaw was chattering like I was cold, but I wasn't cold. And uncontrollably, in a way, like I didn't know if it was like, and my palms aren't sweaty. I wasn't in shock from anything. But my jaw was chattering in a way that, like, when you are so cold and you're shivering, it's like uncontrollable. I could not control what was going on in my face. And it seemed like I was speaking, I don't know why I almost felt like I was going to get emotional there. It almost felt like I was speaking another language, and it was like hissing like a snake, sort of, or purring, and both at the same time, like, when you roll your tongue. And it was like I couldn't stop. Like, it wasn't like I was, like, I'm going to pretend. I don't want to try to imitate what I was doing, because it feels in a weird way like almost sacred, and I don't want to like bastardize it. I don't know. But it was like, like when you roll your tongue. And I can do it okay, but not like super well. Some people can really extend a tongue roll like that, right? And I was in this moment like it was breathing. It was that easy to me. Like it was like I couldn't stop it. And it was like my tongue was rolling at the same time as my jaw was chattering, and it was like this hissing and purring at the same time. And this just it had like articulations to it. It wasn't just a stream of sound coming out of my mouth. It was like I could feel like this different part of me. It felt like it felt like it's been a part of me forever with me, but not allowed to speak. And it finally had this chance to speak freely, and it was angry. It was like, felt like it had seen a lot going on this planet, and didn't like where things were at, in a sense. I got the feeling that this part of me was very mad about the corruption and the lack of transparency about the truth of who we are. And without trying to like fill in a story, that's about all I could really understand and integrate from what was coming through. Almost felt like it was, I don't know, maybe that's what channeling is. But it didn't feel, I've had experiences, I'll just say in short, that I felt like I was maybe connecting to something outside of myself. This didn't feel like that. This felt like I was connecting to a part of myself that I don't know if it's my human self. Maybe it's a part of my higher soul self. Maybe it's a part of myself that's experienced life elsewhere in the cosmos before it became human. Maybe it is just a deeper, untapped part of our ancient humanity. I don't know. I get the feeling that this might be in a lot of people, if not all people, like human people. I don't know. I maybe that's my reaction to feeling like I don't want to try to think of myself as special. You know, I hate that. Ugh. Like I don't want to. I don't want to. That's why I don't like telling some of these stories. Is, you know, I don't want to sit here and try to look like I'm trying to get attention. These are fucked up stories, in my opinion. This is fucked up shit. Hello. The only reason why I'm not super responsive to the chat right now is because I'm just trying to get this shit out that I'm saying, but I will acknowledge y'all. Yeah, these are not stories that I want to necessarily be like known for, but I feel like the more that I hear other people's stories that really resonate with me, the more I feel like maybe I need to talk about my stories more. Cause yeah, I think it's important. I think that the world is changing really fucking fast, and if you're not following what's going on with the solar cycle, the sun, our sun, what it's doing, and the potential for serious grid blackouts, that it's actually a miracle, I think, in my opinion, that we haven't been hit by a solar storm that's fucked us up yet. But the likelihood of that coming, I think, coincides with the increased activity of whatever interdimensional beings, extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, beings from this earth, beings not of this earth, beings from other dimensions, beings that maybe I don't know, don't even have a form. They're just in consciousness. I don't know. Who knows? I think that the reason all those things are ramping up and the government whistleblowers are coming out more, maybe they know, maybe they don't know, maybe some of them do know, and they know that time is running out. I think time is running out for people to wake up in this cycle while we still have this opportunity of 3D life to integrate more of our cosmic self. I don't know how else to put that. I think that there's a lot of things pointing historically and, you know, current science pointing towards that, you know, we're coming up on the end of a cycle for this earth. And what does that mean for us as what I believe to be spiritual beings having a human experience? You know, what does that mean at this time? Like, the people that have chosen to be alive right now, yo, rooting for all of us because we all have a part to play in whatever the fuck this is. Like, I don't know, man. Anyways, so much I could ramble on about. Only 36 minutes. Maybe I shouldn't go too long. I don't know. Let's see. Hi. What is my opinion on Three Eye Atlas? If you're still here, my opinion on Three Eye Atlas is, well, I am not an astronomer, but from what I've seen from the people that I trust to be very grounded, but yet open-minded individuals, is that it was a comet. It was an interstellar hunk of rock that had different densities of material, and so it was doing weird things as it went around the sun. But what I did find very interesting about it is that as it went around the sun, that was a few weeks ago now, or maybe almost a month ago now, 4 weeks, maybe not quite, but it caused the sun to release a bunch of CMEs. It was triggering a whole bunch of activity on the far side of the sun, and as it came around, it continued to blast CMEs directed at Earth, and we ended up having a solar storm, which, if you were out there and about in the right areas, you may have very well seen Aurora Borealis. So if you're seeing Aurora Borealis at night and you're like not in the northern, you know, the Arctic Circle or whatever, like in cold areas and high elevations, that is part of what the fuck is going on, and that's not normal. That's not something that like happens even on a regular solar maximum. So these are signs that the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, and that's why we're getting hit harder by lower level solar storms. Low key scary, bro. It's high key terrifying. But it is so terrifying that you just gotta be like, well, whatever the fuck happens, happens, because like you're probably not gonna survive. So like, don't worry, you'll probably die really quick. Like the sun popping off a micronova and the Earth's crust displacement theory, if you know anything about that, which is where the Earth gets rocked by such intense electromagnetic activity that the crust displaces from the mantle, and the entire like surface of the Earth basically goes whoosh. that is that's part of this. That's part of this, and it's likely to happen in a lot of our young selves' lifetime. It is probably what people refer to as the Great Reset without even realizing it. I think these sort of knowings get echoed through humanity without, like, through our subconscious, and it comes up in different ways, like micro, macro, as above so below. Like, we have this great reset of the sun, of the solar, the galactic current sheet. I'm talking things, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then you should. I'll drop some info that you can go check out what I am talking about. So there's this galactic current sheet of dust that ripples out through the center of our galaxy. And on a roughly 12,000 year time scale, we get hit by this dust sheet, and it covers our sun. The sun goes dark for 3 days. I don't know if that sounds familiar to anyone. And then the sun or it might not be for 3 days, but it's for like 2.5 days or something like that. Maybe it's different. I don't know every time it happens, but the sun goes dark because it gets covered in a sheet of like plasma dust from the galaxy. And then it shoots it off in a micronova. And we have evidence of this on our planet in the layers of, like geologists can see, like in the layers of the rock and stuff, there's patterns for this occurring. The only thing that can leave these isotopes on the earth is an extreme nuclear blast. Well, was it nuclear, or was it the fucking sun blowing up? Well, we got that evidence on the moon and on the earth. And oh my god, like I could ADD off into a million different directions from here. But basically the sun does a micronova. That's not even really the biggest concern, I think, when it comes to the changes that are happening with the sun and the earth right now. I think that what's worse is the grid going down before this major cataclysm event happens, because people are going to lose their shit. Like, people are going to lose their shit. Nobody knows how to survive. You'd be lucky if you live in severe poverty now, because you probably know how to survive a lot better than us, relative city folk. Yeah. I think that it's most important to mentally prep. Don't, and in the wise words of Ben Davison, who has brought this knowledge to the world mainly because he's the only one for years now that's really been fighting to get this in the public domain as much as he has. Eyes open, no fear. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone. That's all you can do. I think, if you want, depends on how hard you want to survive, depends on how hard. I mean, I don't suggest going hardcore prepper on this shit. I think being prepped with physical items is not necessarily what's going to save you. I think getting prepped in knowledge, skills, knowing what your local environment is like and how to survive in it, wilderness, skills, trapping, foraging. Do you know what plants you can eat, native plants in your area that you can eat? Do you know how to make rope? Do you know how to build a shelter? I think that those, like, practically speaking, if you want to have any kind of like shot at what might go down, is like, gun, ammo, have a way to defend yourself, and whatever, supplies you have, because if you have supplies, people are going to be coming from, if you want to know about where are the like safe zones that, there's hopefully this stuff is going to be hitting the mainstream actually pretty soon, because I don't know if anybody knows the Dark Horse podcast with Brett Weinstein and Heather Hine. They're evolutionary biologists. Brett has mentioned on Joe Rogan a few times Suspicious Observers or Space Weather News. So Space Weather News is the YouTube channel. I'll write it down because I think it's important. I think really all this stuff is connected. I think that the reason why we're in a massive tech arms race with China and Russia over this reverse engineer technology is because there's more UAP, UFO, ET, UT, consciousness, contact is happening to people, whether they're in the government, military, these psionic assets, like reaching out and trying to make contact, or these beings coming and making contact either consensually or not with humanity. And I think people need to wake the fuck up. I think it's all coming together because this point in time with the sun exploding, I mean, like if there's a potential for a nuclear bomb to rip a hole in space-time, and that's why there's often, all of this UAP, UFO activity around nuclear weapon sites and testing sites and stuff like that, maybe, if that is enough to do some damage in the space-time continuum, or whatever you want to call it, what the fuck does a micronova do? Like, I think, here's my little hot take on that, and then I'm going to go because I got to go to the bathroom and drink more coffee. And that's that when these new agers and whatever talk about 5D Earth and we're all just going to evolve our consciousness and be in the new Earth together, I think that it's funny that kind of idea kind of ties into, like, I know there's a lot of different indigenous groups that have a similar story about, like, the changing of the age kind of thing, and purging yourself of material attachment, because when the great event happens, which I think is this solar micronova, I think our soul sheds, if we're deeply attached to the material, this 3D, then I think, we die. I think maybe we get recycled into the physical and spiritual material and become reborn again. Maybe we enter a new cycle of, learning again. I think Earth is a school kind of thing. And I think that maybe when the sun does this micronova thing, maybe there is a spiritual element of, like, maybe and this is just sort of how I've imagined it. It's like, and there's reasons why I kind of think this way, based in science. Maybe there's something to our spiritual body that, like, becomes crystallized in a more physical way, but on another level. Like, maybe this version of 3D reality is sort of purged or shed, like we leave this material world, but we move forward with our energetic body or our spiritual body, and that becomes more of our physical body in a way. The reason why I say that is because there's recently been some stuff discovered with, like, light and DNA, and how light can like capture the pattern of DNA information and, like, have memory. Or am I thinking it vice versa? Does DNA store the memory of light? I don't know. Anyways, there's something, please don't quote me on that. It's worth looking into, like, photons and DNA. Anyways, there's some interesting stuff discovered there. And it's like, what if? I don't know. Just some thoughts to play with. I don't necessarily subscribe to my own, like, ideas as beliefs, you know. I think it's, again, I'm skeptical. That's what's sort of come to me in a thought that felt like there might be something worth looking into deeper there. But anyways, I'll read what has been said here and then sign off. All I need is weed and a tent and I'll be okay. Amen. Maybe some snacks when you get the munchies. Oh my God. With these impending situations and outcomes coming to play, what have you taken on to not be a prepper, but to skill prep for the future, or to locationally put yourself? Okay, good question. Really, really, really good question. Okay. I have some outdoorsy kind of skills. Like, I think about this all the time. I'm like, will I actually survive? I don't fucking know. I might have a better chance than some people, but I'm not super hardcore wilderness. I have been thinking more though about like learning how to set traps. I think trapping is extremely beneficial because hunting, it takes years and a lot of money to learn how to do, and I want to get there. I have a couple friends who are hunters actually, and I'd like to eventually get a gun license and learn how to hunt. I do know how to shoot a bow. I shoot a recurve bow though. I might be able to, if I got really patient, I might be able to shoot a bunny rabbit from a, I don't know if you need special tips and arrows to be able to, like, I don't know if you can hunt or kill a deer with a 26 recurve bow. You'd have to be really fucking close and shoot it right through the head or something. I don't know. Thinking of getting into hunting, essentially. Again, learning. I love learning about mushrooms. We hunt mushrooms all the time. Thank you, you two. Is it really that likely? Yes. Look into Suspicious Observers or Space Weather News on YouTube. It's really likely, man. It's likely that the grid will probably go down in our lifetime before, if not the micronova might happen in our lifetime, but it's more likely that the grid is going to go down. This is why they're building underground. This is why the elites are going underground, man. It's the sun. It's the sun, okay? It's great floods. It's biblical level floods. Keep picking mushrooms. Mushrooms are your friend. Yeah, learn to forage. Check out the safe areas, Suspicious Observers, Space Weather News. If you look up either of those, you'll find it. It's also on X. Ben Davison is your guy. He's a salty bastard, but he really, I think he cares about humanity more than most people do, because he's been fighting the good fight, trying to get this knowledge out there. This is not conspiracy. This is getting picked. There are NASA scientists on this. It's fucking suppressed. It's really suppressed. But if you're listening to the spheres, you'll hear more and more people talking about solar flares and stuff like that, because it's getting real. It's getting real. The UAP, UFO, ET, UT topic is getting very real. I think all of these things converge at a certain point. I think that that's the big picture here, is that all these things, these major secrets of humanity, that like, these big things that are suppressed, who and what we are we alone in the universe? Like, what is the government hiding from us? Like, all of these things, like, they, the truth about the cataclysmic cycles of this planet, these are the biggest things. These are the biggest things. And another thread that connects all of these things, which I'm not going to get into, but is the whole sexual blackmail circle, program, shutting the mouths of all of the elites and all of these politicians and all of these, defense people and intelligence people. All these people are implicated in these blackmailing, situations to keep this under wraps. It's like, what is the biggest, what are the biggest secrets? What's the worst thing that you can think of people doing? What is the worst thing you can think of people doing? Torturing and hurting children? Probably. I hope that's the top of the list. And that's what you use to keep all of the world's biggest secrets under wraps. Boom, there you go. Anyways, check it out. Okay, answer this last question. The owl, like the owl of like Bohemian Grove kind of thing, or just the general idea of like owls being like harbingers of death? Remember, the death card in tarot is also the rebirth. So that's what death means. And it means rebirth. If you think about it that way, you just got to alchemize these things. You can control what it means for you. You can control. When a symbols represent, meaning, right? And then there's always two sides. There's always two sides to everything. We live in a binary universe that is built on a system of polarity. So you can always alchemize into the light. Remember that. Anyways, knowing these are important times, how's your communication been with loved ones and family members in terms of seeing your perspective? I'm really lucky that my boyfriend, my partner, is 100% like on the same page. Like, we feed off of each other's thoughts and ideas about this, and we're able to support each other. And as dark things come up, we're able to bring back in the light together and remember that our knowledge is power. And same thing with my mom. I mean, I've been working on my mom for a number of years, like getting her up to speed. There's a lot of things that she has like known but not wanted to be aware of, and I think that's the case for a lot of people when it comes to these subjects. I think deep down, a lot of us know something ain't right. I think we know that there's an imposed, system of control, whether it is strictly human based or there's something deeper and more complex going on. I can't say for sure. I flip-flop between thinking that maybe there is some sort of advanced ET race that is having some general effect on our human affairs. I think that to some degree, that is probably true. But I think that, I don't know. I think there's some outside influence on the imbalance that we see. But I think, again, you're always the alchemist of your life. There are ways to shift your perspective, which will have an outcome of your actual lived experience. It's more, that is tangible. It's not just a wishy-washy woo-woo thing, but that's a topic for another conversation. I think I've talked a little bit about manifesting and attitude of gratitude. And then you got to move from there, though. You can't just stay in that. You got to advance that a little bit if you want to bring in more, but it's got to be with the right intentions. Anyways, again, another subject. I hope that this video was enlightening or interesting or gave you something to think about anyways, because that's all I really aim to do. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, but for those who need it, I think you'll find it. And if you or someone that you think needs support with any of these topics, feel free to search out my Instagram. It's also Psyryn, psy.ryn. And shoot me a message. I might not get to it right away, but I or drop it in the comments or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I appreciate anybody who's brave enough to tell their story too. And I think it's helpful if we share our stories, and maybe there's nuggets in each other's stories that are pieces to each other's puzzles. I don't know. Good luck. Until I see you again, I gotta figure out how to sign off gracefully. Okay, bye.